In the world of hospitality, creating a seamless guest experience is the goal. But what happens when things don't go perfectly? More importantly, what happens when cultural differences turn a simple issue into a major conflict? Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert, and I'm so pleased to welcome all of you, the students of Europe Hotel School, to your online learning journey. In my years in this industry, I've learned that the biggest challenges aren't about logistics or operations. They're about people, especially when your guests come from every corner of the globe. Today, we're going to give you the skills to handle cross-cultural conflicts with confidence and turn those tricky moments into opportunities. So, we've organized this into a 5-stage approach. First, we'll look at the cultural compass to actually understand what's going on. Then, we'll dive into the art of listening. After that, it's all about the professional response and crafting a solution. And finally, we'll look at what happens beyond the resolution, which is where you build real loyalty. Ready? Let's jump in. All right, first up, the cultural compass. You have to think of this as your starting point, your foundation, because you can't solve a problem if you don't really understand how the guest is communicating that problem in the first place. And this is absolutely crucial. Conflict in hospitality is never a one-size-fits-all situation. You know, what might seem like a tiny inconvenience to you, like a brief wait for a table, could feel like a profound sign of disrespect to a guest from a different cultural background. So your first job isn't to jump in with a solution. It's to stop, observe, and decode how the guest is actually expressing their dissatisfaction. Generally, you'll encounter two main styles. On one hand, you've got direct communication, which you'll often see from guests from North America and much of Europe. They'll tell you exactly what's wrong and expect a quick, efficient fix. It's not rude, it's just direct. But then you have indirect communication, which is more common in places like East Asia or the Middle East. A guest might say something is a little inconvenient, when in reality they are deeply upset. The real message is in the subtext, so you have to listen for the hints, not just the words themselves. And that leads us to emotions. A raised voice in one culture might just mean this is urgent and important, while in another it could be seen as deeply offensive. The key is to not take it personally. Your job is to look past the emotion to see the need behind it. You've got to put on your cultural glasses, so to speak, and see the situation for what it is, a communication challenge, not a personal attack. So once you have a better idea of the communication style you're dealing with, it's time to deploy your single most powerful tool: listening. Seriously, this is where you stop a conflict in its tracks and actually start building the bridge toward a solution. This quote really says it all. A lot of the time, the guest just wants to know that you understand, that you see their perspective. The moment they feel that you are truly, genuinely listening, you can almost feel the tension in the room just dissolve. See, listening isn't a passive activity. It's an action. It's how you show respect. So, how do you do it right? It's a simple 3-step process. First, give them your complete, undivided attention. That means putting away your phone, stepping away from the computer, and focusing only on them. Second, use your body language. A nod, leaning in slightly, maintaining eye contact. These things signal, I'm with you, I'm hearing you. And third, and this is the hardest one for a lot of us, let them finish. Don't interrupt. Let them tell their whole story from beginning to end. Okay, so you've listened. You've decoded the cultural cues. What comes next? Well, now it's time to craft your professional response. This is your toolkit for turning that moment of tension into a moment of trust. Think of these 5 components as your guide. The first and the last are all about you. Remain calm and maintain emotional control. You are the anchor in this situation. In between, you need to speak with absolute clarity. No jargon, no confusion. Then you have to acknowledge the specific issue they raised. And finally, you build that bridge with a sincere apology. Staying cool under pressure is a skill that everyone, everywhere, recognizes and respects. Let's just double-click on that apology for a second. The way you phrase an apology might differ a bit from culture to culture, but sincerity is universal. A genuine "I am so sorry you experienced that" has the power to completely change the dynamic of the conversation. It shifts it from you versus them to us versus the problem. We've listened, we've responded, now we have to actually fix it. This next part is all about crafting a solution. But more than that, it's about turning the guest into a partner in finding that solution. So let me ask you this. How do you actually empower a guest who is feeling powerless and upset? How do you give them a sense of control and respect right when things have gone wrong? The answer is incredibly simple, but it is so, so powerful. It's a total game changer. Instead of just dictating a solution by saying, here's what I'm going to do for you, you change your approach. You say, to make this right for you, we could offer option A, or perhaps you'd prefer option B. Which of these sounds best to you? That simple shift does everything. It gives the guest a sense of agency, it shows respect for their preferences, and it ensures the solution is one they actually want. And this right here is what flexible problem solving is all about. You're tailoring your response to what the guest really needs. Is their main concern speed, or do they need reassurance? Or maybe it's about a symbolic gesture of respect. You have to quickly diagnose their primary concern and then match your offered solutions to that need. Which brings us to our final section. And honestly, for building a great reputation and creating guests for life, this might just be the most important part of all. It's about going beyond the resolution. The problem's fixed, the guest seems happy, so you're done, right? Not quite. The mark of truly world-class service is the follow-up. A quick phone call to the room later that day, or just checking in when you see them in the lobby. That little gesture says, we weren't just trying to close a complaint ticket, we genuinely care about your stay. That's what people remember. And remember this, every single one of these challenging interactions is a learning opportunity. It's like a free masterclass in cultural awareness and a real-world test of your emotional resilience. Don't dread these moments, learn from them. They're what will make you a true expert in this field. And here it is, the big takeaway. Think about it. A perfectly smooth, uneventful hotel stay is nice, but it's often forgettable. But a stay where something went a little bit wrong and the staff handled it with incredible grace, empathy, and professionalism, that is a story a guest will tell for years. That's how you forge unbreakable loyalty. So, I'll leave you with this question to carry with you. The next time you're faced with a challenge, a difficult situation with a guest, how will you use these tools? Will you build a wall, or will you build a bridge of understanding?